The letter that traveled the world. It began on a chilly morning in New York City, 1995. Ethan Andrews, a 26-year-old salesman, sat at his modest kitchen table, staring at a blank sheet of paper. The words he needed to write felt heavier than the pen he held. After an hour of scribbling and crossing out, he finally wrote, "Dear Amelia, I don't know where to start. I'm sorry for the hurt I caused, for the silence, for not being the person you needed me to be. I hope this letter finds you in peace, even if it can't bring us back together." He signed it with trembling hands and sealed the envelope. On the front, he wrote her name and address, only partially complete, as if he couldn't commit to the finality of sending it. But he sent it anyway, dropping it into the mailbox with a whispered prayer. "Please, just reach her." The letter never made it to Amelia. Days turned into weeks, weeks into months, and months became years, and the letter fell through the cracks of the postal system. It was swept into a pile of unclaimed mail, eventually shipped overseas for recycling. But fate had other plans. In 2015, a postal worker called Isabella in rural Mexico found the letter while sorting through old and claimed envelopes, especially the ones without stamp. The incomplete address intrigued her, and curiosity got the better of her. She opened it, reading Ethan's heartfelt words. She took the letter home, where her grandmother Rosa found it. Rosa, now in her 70s, sat at her kitchen table, holding the letter in one hand and a photo of her estranged sister in the other. The letter reminded her of her own regrets. Years ago, she had a falling out with her younger sister, Elena. They hadn't spoken in decades. "This letter," Rosa said to her granddaughter, "is a sign. I need to fix things before it's too late." Inspired, Rosa called her sister. The conversation was awkward at first, but soon they were laughing and crying, reconnecting as though no time had passed. Rosa's granddaughter, touched by the story, posted a picture of the letter on social media with the caption, "Love has no expiration date." By 2016, the post went viral. Thousands of people shared it, each drawn to the raw emotion in Ethan's words. One of those people was Pierre, a journalist in Paris. Recently widowed, Pierre had been searching for meaning in his grief. This letter, he thought, deserves to find its way home. Pierre wrote an article about it, translating Ethan's words into French and weaving in the story of its journey. The piece gained traction, and soon a philanthropist offered to help track down Amelia. But before they could act, the letter took another detour. In 2017, the letter was mistakenly included in a shipment of donated books sent to a rural school in India. There, it was discovered by a young girl named Anya. She couldn't read English, but the worn envelope and faded handwriting fascinated her. She brought it to her teacher, who translated it for the class. The teacher turned the letter into a lesson about love and forgiveness, encouraging the students to write letters of their own. One of those letters made its way to a government official who, inspired by the child's innocence, decided to reconcile with his brother after years of estrangement. Meanwhile, the original letter was passed along to a traveler heading to the United States. By 2025, the letter had returned to New York, where it ended up in a lost mail center. A curious clerk named Linda stumbled upon it. The faded address and heartfelt words piqued her interest, so she took it upon herself to find Ethan. Ethan, now 56 years old, answered her call. He was stunned. He had long since forgotten about the letter, assuming it was lost forever. Now, holding it in his hands, he was flooded with memories. He read it again, whispering, "Amelia." With Linda's help, Ethan discovered that Amelia had moved to Paris years ago. She now owned a small bookstore in the city. Taking a leap of faith, Ethan booked a flight. The bookstore was quaint, tucked away on a quiet street. Ethan hesitated at the door, clutching the letter tightly. When he finally stepped inside, his heart raced. Behind the counter stood Amelia, older, but unmistakably her. She looked up, her eyes widening in surprise. "Ethan?" she said, her voice a mix of shock and emotion. He stepped forward, placing the letter on the counter. "It took 10 years, he said, smiling through tears, "but I think this belongs to you." Amelia picked up the letter, her hands trembling. She read it, her expression softening with every word. When she finished, she looked at Ethan, tears streaming down her face. "You always were late," she said with a laugh, breaking the tension. Moral of the story: sometimes what seems lost forever can find its way back to us. Love, forgiveness, and second chances have a way of crossing borders, touching lives, and bridging even the longest distances. The letter that traveled the world didn't just carry words. It carried hope, forgiveness, and the power to heal. It touched lives, mended hearts, and proved that no distance, physical or emotional, is too great for love to overcome. But here's the thing. Not all letters have to travel the world to make an impact. Is there someone in your life waiting for your words? Maybe a family member you've grown apart from, a friend you haven't spoken to in years, or someone you never had the courage to express your feelings to. Take a moment. Write them a letter, because sometimes the hardest things to say are the ones that need to be heard the most. Have you ever written or received a letter that changed your life? Share your story in the comments below. And if this story moved you, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more tales that inspire and connect us all.